Broadcasting live from WOYK's downtown studios at Santander Stadium. Talking York's home teams. Welcome to York College Spartans Sports Weekly on SportsRadio 1350 WOYK. Now, here are your hosts of Spartan Sports Weekly, Darrell Henry and Scott Geis.
Derek, what happened to you on the intro anyway? It bothers me every week. We're going to have to redo this. I mean, you're in there too.
I know. I don't know what to say, Darrell.
It's
disappointing.
Can I just introduce you?
Yeah.
Would that be okay?
Yeah, that would sound good, yeah.
And Derek Berenshausen.
Sounds good to me.
All right.
This is a three-man booth here.
It is now. Welcome, guys. How do you like the round table? You're up
good.
high in the power seat.
It's fantastic as we watch the trains go by.
Yeah, the trains. Here comes Ray walking in after his wrestling show has concluded. Hi, Ray.
Hi.
It's a full booth today.
It is. Welcome all to York College Spartans Sports Weekly. So we continue to analyze our new studio, and what is it that you guys think we need next?
Oh, I think we need some Spartan paraphernalia in here. We got to see what coaches can hook you up and get some framed jerseys going in here. You know, maybe we'll have to have Darrell pick out his Spartan favorites, and he can hang those jerseys. Maybe even have them signed. How about that?
I don't play favorites, but
I don't know if that's not that might be an NCAA violation. I don't know. We'd have to check that out. We'll have to ask Mr. Matt Day, Associate Athletic Director, if that's allowable.
Let's not find out on this show.
That's fantastic. We don't want to be breaking rules. Let's go.
Yeah,
I think anything would be a good start since there's nothing right now.
Yeah.
That's true.
But that's okay. This is new. This is only week 2, so that's fine. Now, if it's week 8 and we still don't have anything, then maybe we have some issues.
We had the design team in here today, so we're talking about that, certain ideas, and York College will be heavily featured. But what I was going for, you guys thought we should have a TV in here, which I kind of left out of I completely forgot about it.
That's why you need us to. We got to help you out in all aspects of the operation. I think if you would have consulted us, because we're not fortunate enough to have a TV in our office. If we had a TV in our office, our life would be a little bit more pleasant, especially coming up this week with March Madness starting.
Well, I'm going to be listening to it on this station.
Well, that's even better, but you could be watching the games while listening, getting best of both worlds.
That's true.
There's always a way to spin it, Darrell.
I was going to suggest take some notes from the Dan Patrick Show. His nice man cave there. You get a full golf simulator in here.
Oh.
Maybe
hey, if you got a full golf simulator, we might never leave.
Pinball machines.
We're going to call this space something at some point. We can't go man cave.
I think we should throw it out to the listeners. I think the listeners should email you with suggestions.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll see what kind of response we get from the Spartan faithful.
We did play. We had some golf over in the other area.
Yes, you did.
Nobody else knew about that, but they do now.
Slapshot regatta.
Slapshot, yeah. We're a little cramped for space for that over here.
Yeah, I'm not sure you get a full swing in
but
here.
we could use some marks on the walls. I mean, anything would help at this point.
Yeah, I mean, that could be the design.
Character.
Yeah.
Those will last
Used,
forever.
Lived in.
In a baseball press box, you have the foul balls that came in. And I remember, Scott, you'll appreciate this. I took a tour of the Jake back in the day, formerly known as the Jake.
It's still known as Jacobs Field.
Okay.
Yeah, they can call Progressive Field all they want. It's Jacobs Field. It will always be.
Yes, yeah, I understand. And one of the things that stuck with me from that tour was a nice gash in one of the press box walls from a foul ball that came all the way up there.
Those things come up pretty quick.
Yeah.
You kind of have the way that you are set up. You kind of have to have more of a lofted fly ball. You can't get one of those screamers that come straight back because the net's high enough to catch it. Fortunately for you, I've seen you catch. It's probably safer that the net is in front of you, but it's.
I'd rather not have either one, to be honest with you.
Well, that's fine.
I'd rather just do my thing. And
well, you're very good at your thing, which
thank you.
Is not very far away now. We just looked at the schedule. Another 6 weeks, and it's time to play baseball. So
that would mean 4 weeks, and the Spartans will be on this field, right?
Yes, April 9th against Elizabethtown at Santander Stadium, 6 o'clock. Very excited about that. Can't wait to not only get a chance to have our kids play here, but also get a chance you and I can broadcast. We'll bring Derek in with us. We'll have a 3-man booth, though. I don't think we can get 3 men in your booth, but that's okay. We can.
Ray too, so 4.
Well, then we'll just sit out in the main press box area and lock the door. Don't let anybody else in. So that'll be the way to go.
That'll work.
As radios continue to click off talking about things that have nothing to do with Spartan athletics, that's good.
There's still most of an hour left. We're just scratching the surface. Before we get into it, I am curious. Is there a revised target date for a home baseball or softball opener at this point?
Do you have a drum roll? Because if you have a drum roll, we might be playing at home tomorrow.
Wow.
There is a possibility.
Really?
They're out working on the field right now, and you kind of were hoping we maybe get a little bit more sun today. But the wind yesterday was huge. The ability to dry that field off. But then we talked about it last week, the lower levels, the lower layers, probably about 8 to 10 inches down are still frozen. So when we get precipitation, it tends to it tends to not absorb like it normally would, so it kind of sits more on the surface. Plus, we're still having freezing nights, which is not good for the surface. The first 2-3 inches of the surface, if it's below freezing, that tends to freeze and thaw and freeze and thaw. So it captures that moisture, which you don't really want to have happen. So if not tomorrow, I think we have a good shot at playing Wednesday against Penn State Harrisburg in what would be our long anticipated and much delayed 2015 home opener.
Who needs a farmer's almanac when you have Scott Geis? I mean, that was a full breakdown of freeze, thaw, temperature, field prep. I mean, wow. I'm impressed.
That was beautiful. There is some sun out there, though, today.
There's a little bit of sun. I think
you're being awfully picky.
I kind of want a little bit warmer temperatures.
Partly cloudy, Dale.
And we'll go partly sunny, because I'm always the optimist, as anybody that knows me would say.
Obviously.
So, we're going to go partly sunny, not partly. Derek and his partly cloudy. I tend to look on the
I'm still learning.
Glass half full side.
Well, we've killed the first 7 minutes, so guys, shall we start the show?
Why don't we jump into the show? Let's talk about something that people really care about.
All right, now that that's out of the way. Well, welcome, and of course you can find us online on the mobile apps as well, WOYK1350.com, YCPSpartans.com, and the WOYK apps, and the archives are on there as well. And guys, we start off this week's show with wrestling, and following Ryan Flynn to Nationals this past weekend. You guys were both there. First off, give us a little idea of what the atmosphere was like in Hershey, and of course, how our terrific wrestler, Mr. Flynn himself, performed there at Nationals.
I'll let Derek talk about Ryan's performance, and I'll just say this really quick. It was a really cool atmosphere, and it's something I hope comes back to Hershey, because it was. And we were only there Friday. It was a neat atmosphere. I thought Hershey did a fantastic job. Elizabethtown College, props to them. They did a fantastic job hosting. It was a really well run event, and also something that was pretty fan friendly in terms of the venue and everything that went on.
Now, what about the press food? How was that?
The press food was not bad. Derek was very impressed by the selection of cold cuts. Kind of wish we could have stuck around Friday night, maybe gotten a little hot food, I think, but hard to tell. But yeah, it was a great event.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was a very, I would say, kind of hectic environment with a lot of things going on. They had 6 matches going on at one time, but it was very well run, and it was exciting. Fortunately, though, Ryan didn't perform up to his expectations. He took an early exit on Friday in the first session, lost back-to-back matches, which eliminated him from competition. He dropped 3-2 decisions. The first match, he wrestled a wrestler from Augsburg who actually placed second in the tournament. So a little consolation. You lose to the second-place guy in your first match. But I think overall, what Scott and I noticed, and talking with Coach Bastris, is I think nerves kind of got to him a little bit. It's an intimidating environment for sure. And Coach said, in the pregame, or not pregame, but before like the opening ceremonies and everything, he was a little nervous, and you could tell he was not off his game, which is kind of uncharacteristic because he's such a level-headed guy and never gets too high, never gets too low. But it's definitely a learning experience to go there for the first time, and I think he got a little tight, and he usually is an offensive guy. He usually looks to get up, get a score an early takedown, a reversal, and he just wasn't very offensive early on. And that definitely cost him in his first match. And then the second match, your back's against the wall. If you lose one more, you're going home. And I think he wrestled pretty well. He got up, he got up on him, and then the score was tied 2-2 and late in the third period. But the guy he was facing off had racked up over a minute in riding time late in that third period, so he was still down by a point. You get a point if you go over a minute in riding time, you get an extra point. And he was trying to scramble at the end to score to tie it up, and it's just that's a tough situation to be in when your back's against the wall and you're working against the clock and everything else. So.
Well, and you also have a guy as desperate as you are. Whoever loses is going home. So, I thought there was a semblance of. I just never thought Ryan got into a comfort zone. I never thought he really felt comfortable. Which, quite frankly, as a sophomore, that's okay. He's still got 2 more cracks. He's going to come back. He's a smart kid. He's going to learn from this experience. And ultimately, it's not a bad thing if he goes forward and learns from it. And if he's able to come back next year, we won't know till next year how beneficial it was. If he comes back next year and wrestles to be an All-American, then this year's experience was worth it. But I think it's a situation where the first match – We had noticed he was up on the board, so we kind of, where we were at, we had to make our way to the other side of the arena to be able to get there. We almost didn't make it in time. It turns out the kid in front of him, the match in front of him, ended in a pin, ended early. All of a sudden, Ryan's literally sprinting out to the floor. So I thought it
was an awkward start. It was an awkward start for sure. We're walking down the tunnel because we had to walk from one end of the arena to get down to his match. And the way it works out there, they know what bout number they are, but they don't know what mat they are on, and literally minutes before, because they try to see what matches open up so they can move guys in and keep things rolling. So, when a pin happens like that, things speed up the process. We're walking down the tunnel, and he's running onto the mat from outside the warm-up area and then on the mat, and all of a sudden he's wrestling. So it was a rush start, a little awkward start. Combine that with all the nerves and everything, it was just not a good start for him, and I think it just kind of carried over, but
he lost to a good guy. I mean, the guy ends up finishing second in the country and losing, I think he lost 4-3 in the finals?
Yeah, it was yep.
Yeah, so the guy he's wrestling, he's a pretty good guy.
Yeah, that's the other thing, too, is, any little mistake, or if you're off a game just a little bit in the Nationals, everyone's pretty much on the same level, so any little, leg up you give to your opponent is gonna cost you.
And I think he also got to experience what can happen when things go bad. Mm-hmm. So that next year, all right, well, if things go bad, here's how I adjust to it. When you have no history or no base to build from in terms of experiencing that's a tough thing. So I think he'll be set and ready to go next year. Yeah, he is. He finished 1 win short of tying Coach Bastras's wins record for a season, which we thought going in, hey, he's probably could tie and break this, but it just wasn't meant to be. And it's I think it's one of those situations where he's going to look back and realize what a great year he had. But right now it's like, man, this really stinks. I went 0-2 at the national championships when I really felt like I could have done more. But Ryan's a great kid. He'll be back. He'll be back, and he'll be better than he's ever been. So I would be stunned if next year he's not in contention for an All-American berth.
Yeah, and he was already asking Coach later on Friday. Was like, I wish someone would give me some criticism. I'm tired of hearing. He was tired of hearing about, he had a great year. You did so well. He's like, I'm not really happy right now. I want to know what I did wrong and what I can do to get better. So you can see that fire and that drive is already there for next year.
Well, it was a great season for him, for the entire squad, and Dwayne Bastras took the time to catch up with us afterward.
We are joined this morning by head wrestling coach Dwayne Bastras. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about Nationals. Ryan goes up to Hershey and gets an opportunity to participate. Obviously, it doesn't go quite as well as what he had hoped, but what are some of the benefits of Ryan being able to get that experience?
It's huge. Being a sophomore, getting the opportunity to compete on the biggest stage. It's kind of a nice little cap in his feather for one heck of a year that he had. Achieved a lot more than we probably heading into it thought, but as the season went on, we thought, hey, we have a good shot to probably be an All-American. I think one thing that helped is watching the kid that we lost to in the first round, 3-2, make it to the NCAA finals, knowing we were right there, we can beat that kid. So he took away from this weekend, talking yesterday, that, hey, I want to get back, he's hungry, but it's just a great learning experience to see what it's like to compete with the best.
Is it tough to see him go 0-2 with 2 1-point losses. I mean, he's right there. It's just a matter of getting a break here or there. Does that make it a little bit more difficult, or does that make it a little easier?
I mean, I don't know if any loss is really easier. I think those 3-2 losses kind of hurt you, make you think, like, what if I would have did this? What if I would have did that? But at the same time, when you're up there, a lot of guys are going to win those 3-2, and you got to find a way somehow or another to win those 3-2 matches. So, like I said, I think it's a good learning experience. We learned a lot. I mean, he really learned a lot. Like, hey, we got to keep up our offense and attack, but we'll be back next year.
Let's turn a little bit to the team season. Obviously, a really good year record-wise, considering all the injuries and all the things you had go wrong. Talk a little bit about your thoughts on this season.
I mean, it was a great season. The guys, I think it got started off when we went up to the John Reese Duels. We wrestled Wilkes, who was ranked right above us in their national rankings, and to get a win there, it kind of lit the spark, and the guys took off. Now, second semester, we had some injuries, like you said, and I was very proud of how the guys responded as a group. I mean, we were patching together some lineups there, and to finish 21-5 and finish ranked 21st in the country is something that they should be proud of. It's a nice building block for next year, as we only had really 2 seniors starting at the end of the year for us. So, I mean, it's a good experience for our younger guys.
Now, something happened in the middle of the year. You actually promoted to full-time head coach. How is that going to really help the program with you being able to be here all the time?
I mean, just being here for the guys will be nice. I mean, I'm here on campus a lot more. The other thing it'll help is the recruiting aspect, being able to talk to recruits throughout the day, having them come for visits. So, I mean, we've already seen it's only been just over a month, and you can already see some results happening. Recruits like to hear that their future head coach is going to be a full-time coach, so that's nice to kind of throw that in there, and parents really like to hear that. So we're excited to see. Hopefully it takes the program to the next level, which is NCAA title contentions and stuff like that, but that's kind of where we're headed right now.
Now, end of the season, you have another 7 months until you start again. What are some of the things that you focus on at this time of year moving forward?
Well, obviously shoring up our recruiting class for the fall. We have a couple kids out there that we're hoping that can commit. And then over the summer, we'll start to have individual meetings, kind of telling the guys, hey, this is what we need to prepare for in the fall. Start to get kind of what weights guys are expected to be at next year. And then over the summer, it'll start to be the following recruiting class, starting to look at kids, talk to kids, get them hopefully down here for some visits. Me personally, it'll be just preparing. I mean, taking a little bit of a break here for a couple weeks, and then we'll get back to the grind of preparing for our season and hopefully cap off with a couple All-Americans next year.
You got to do a special thing at finals on Saturday night in Hershey. Tell our listeners a little bit about the opportunity you got on Saturday night.
Eric Walker is the coach at Elizabethtown College, asked me to be an honoree at the NCAA championships, so I was able to walk out. The Parade of All-Americans lead to 184-pounders, so that was kind of neat. But they announced some of my credentials when I competed and just kind of lead the way for the 84s, the next generation, I guess you could say. So it was kind of neat to experience that.
You probably could still take some of those kids, right?
I feel like I could.
That sounds great. Dwayne, thanks for joining us. We'll hopefully talk to you again maybe a little bit later this spring as the recruiting class kind of comes together. Thanks for joining us, and congratulations on a great year.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks, Scott. You know, he's probably got to want to jump out on the mat at some point, I would think.
He could hurt some people right now. You look at it, and obviously Dwayne keeps himself in incredible shape. He still does a little MMA fighting on the side. But yeah, I mean, he loves getting in the room with the guys. He had shoulder surgery a couple weeks before. Well, I guess a couple months before I did, and it didn't take him nearly as long to recover. Maybe because he's an athlete. But yeah, he's fantastic, and certainly we're very pleased to have him around full time, and he's going to do a great job with our program. This really is the tip of the iceberg. I mean, we're only going one way, and that's up. And I firmly believe that we have the best possible person in place to take that program to the next level and beyond. I mean, this is not next year at this time. We're not talking about if we have only one kid there. We're going to have multiple kids there, and we're going to have multiple All-Americans.
Yeah. Now he got to lead the parade of All-Americans, which was
awesome. And I actually saw a picture on. Dwayne doesn't like to talk about himself very much. I actually saw a picture on Facebook when I said this morning, "Hey, that looked pretty cool." Yeah, that was kind of cool to do. I'm like, "Why didn't you tell me?" And he's like, "Well, I didn't think it was that big a deal." But that's a cool thing, and especially when you have the, to use the term street cred. I mean, good Lord, does anybody have more credibility than him? A 2-time national champion, undefeated his senior year. That's, NWCA Division III Hall of Fame. I mean, come on, that's crazy. But he is that good.
Yeah. Well, a very nice season indeed.
Oh, fantastic season!
Tremendous. So we'll take a timeout here. We have Kyle Walthall heading to swim nationals. I'll spit it out. And we'll break that down, and we'll actually hear from Kyle himself when we come back. Get into some lacrosse later in the program as well. Brandon Childs will join us once again. And, of course, baseball and softball, who are inching ever so closer to playing a home game outdoors. Could be.
Possibly.
Could be this.
Fingers crossed.
Could be tomorrow.
Could be.
All right. Well, we'll get into all of that as we roll along. You're listening to York College Spartans Sports Weekly here on Sports Radio 1350.
Turning a double play takes teamwork, and so does preparing for life's challenges. Murray Securus works with you, hand in hand, providing thoughtful solutions to help you plan for the future. Team up with Murray Securus for safer, more secure risk management, personal insurance, health benefits, wealth management, even cutting-edge human resource solutions for individuals and small to large businesses. Living life in a winning way just takes a little teamwork. Call Murray Securus today at 397-9600 or go to murrayins.com.
Blazing fast service for all of your wipeouts. OSS Health Urgent Care will take care of all of your muscular and skeletal sprains, pops, twists, and breaks in minutes, not hours. Open 7 days a week for your urgent orthopedic needs. Now at 2 convenient locations, 1855 Powder Mill Road in York and 856 Century Drive in Mechanicsburg. Visit us online at osshealth.com. OSS Health Urgent Care. Experience you can trust.
Dad, I'm home. Why am I not surprised to find you laying on the couch?
Oh, hi, son. Is your fall semester over already?
Yep, I love it at York College, and I really like living on campus this year.
Yeah, that reminds me. We need to have a little talk. About the facts of life.
Dad, we had that talk years ago. And anyway, I don't believe you ordered me from Amazon.com.
I mean, your mom and I are helping to pay for your college as much as we can, but now you've got room and board on top of books and tuition, and you haven't asked me once for money.
Dad, I told you last year that York Educational Federal Credit Union took care of all that. That student choice loan we applied for last year was a one-time application. All I have to do this year is tell them how much I need, and they send the money right to the school. The loan is set up similar to my Stafford loan, so I don't have to start making payments until 6 months after I graduate. I told you YEFCU rocks.
College has been good for you, son. You're smarter already.
York Educational Federal Credit Union, 1601 South Queen Street, York. Apply online at yefcu.org. Federally insured by NCUA.
Your home for York's home team. The York College Spartans play here. Sports Radio 1350. WOYK, York.
Here on York College Spartans Sports Weekly, as we roll along here to the swimming segment of the program, and more nationals to talk about, guys. Kyle Walthall getting ready, and coming up this weekend, he'll be in the pool swimming against some of the best in the country. We're going to hear from him here momentarily, but guys, let's get the specifics first of all on that situation. We have more national competition to look forward to here at York.
Yep, Kyle's already down in Shenandoah, Texas, as he's preparing the championship start on Thursday. He will actually swim on Friday and Saturday. He'll swim the 100 breaststroke on Friday and the 200 on Saturday morning. So both an opportunity. Basically, what he needs to do is be able to finish in the top 16 to advance to the night swim, which actually will determine All-American status. Actually, I believe if you make it to the night swim, you're an All-American. But he really, as he'll talk about in the interview, he wants a pair of top 8 finishes, and I think he's certainly capable. He has the second quickest time in the 200 this year, so I think it's going to be something that he's really looking to be able to make that impact and advance to that first team All-American status. And certainly he is. He's a very gifted swimmer, and he's kind of poised to really take that next step and elevate himself into that upper echelon in NCAA swimming, and had a fantastic year and broke a bunch of records again, which is what he does. That's kind of his thing now, and so I think he has an opportunity to really make a big impact at nationals.
Will our record board in the natatorium be? I mean, has that already been updated with his stuff, or how's that happen? Is that
it does? It gets updated. It gets updated at the end of the year. It basically gets updated once a year, and that comes at the end of the season. And after he closes out competition this week, that'll probably get updated in the next couple of weeks. But
do you climb the ladder to do it?
No, no. There's some OSHA standards against that. I don't think they'd let me on the ladder, which is good because I don't really want to. That board is not close to the ground, so I have no desire to get up on the ladder and do that. But they, he'll have an opportunity. Actually, there was a bunch of records set this year. There was a lot of really good standards by this group of guys. Especially there were some women's records that were set as well. But really, a lot of big strides that occurred this year in the swim program, and certainly Kyle was a big part of that.
Now, you were busy interrogating our coaches and student athletes this morning.
I was. Well, actually, I talked to Kyle last week. But
okay.
Yeah, I got Brandon and Dwayne this week. So.
Yeah, because he's
nice
already on the road.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
We have such a nice hookup. We did a Skype interview. No, he came in the office and we talked. That's how these interview things work.
You're getting in there and finding out you're getting it done.
I'm trying, man.
Q&As.
We should probably listen to the interview now.
You want to do that?
Let's do that.
Okay. Scott Geis exclusive with Kyle Walthall from last week.
We are here with York College swimming standout Kyle Walthall. Kyle, thanks for joining us.
No problem.
First of all, getting ready to go to nationals this week. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling really good. A lot better than last year. At this time last year, I had bronchitis, so I was trying to fight through that in order to swim. But this year, I'm healthy, knock on wood, and ready to go.
How does last year help you out? Getting to experience what you got to experience and still coming home an All-American, how will last year help you this year?
It'll help a lot. I was really nervous last year, really shaky on the blocks, but I think that I got that all out last year, and this year I'll be a lot more comfortable at the pool.
When you head down there, obviously you're going down on Monday, swimming on Friday. Is it nice to just be able to get acclimated to the pool and kind of get acclimated to your surroundings?
Yeah, that's a real necessity, getting used to each pool. We also get a chance to kind of see what other teams are there, who's there, see what the competition's like, how they warm up, stuff like that.
What's one thing you're excited for this week heading down to Texas?
I'm more than anything, I'm just excited to race. Especially for the 200 breast, that's what we've been training for all year, so that'll be fun.
We're sitting here next week at this time. What's a successful trip for you?
A successful trip would probably be top 8 in both events, and from there I'd be happy with just about anything this year. Maybe that'll be different next year, but this year top 8 is the main goal.
Now, we were talking a little bit earlier. What happens when you're done with championships? What's the next goal for you?
After championships, I'll probably take 2 weeks off and then get back in the pool to train for the summer. This summer I'm going to be swimming with a different club and try to get the Olympic trial cut in either the 1, the 2, or both.
Fantastic. Kyle, good luck. Hopefully we'll touch base with you when you get back, and hopefully we can reach those goals.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Scott, and best of luck to Kyle and those that want to follow along.
Yeah, just go to the Spartan website. We'll probably put something up Thursday, links to be able to watch his swims, and also there's a meet manager that you can follow along on your phone as well. You can get the results live and be able to do that. So, yeah, Kyle, I think is going to have a really good weekend, and it's going to be fun to watch and see him get the opportunity to represent York College and probably represent us pretty well.
Yeah, awesome stuff. Looking forward to that. Also in this segment, wanted to get into baseball and softball, and like we had already plugged earlier in the program, we very well could have our first home game of the season tomorrow, and if that is the case, I might just have to get out there. 3 o'clock, Derek?
3 o'clock against Scranton.
Okay.
I'm pretty excited. The prospect of even being able to play baseball tomorrow is pretty exciting to me. The Spartans did play a game this week. They went to St. Mary's on Friday. That was a game that was originally to be played on Wednesday. But the Spartans did pick up a 10-7 win. They are now 4-1 overall, 1-0 in the conference. It was not the best played game by the Spartans. York committed 3 errors in the game, but in fairness to them, when you're not outside, one of the most difficult things is the defensive part of the game, and it was 3 errors that led to actually 4 unearned runs for the Spartans allowing. But the good news is the offense was outstanding. A 6-run second inning followed by a single run in the top of the 4th, and then 3 more to close out the scoring in the top of the 6th. Brad Wenzel with a big day. He had 2 hits, 3 RBIs, 3 runs scored. He also walked twice, so he was on base 5 of the 6 times. Stephen Mealy was 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs. He had a home run, his second of the year. Sean Mulholland 3 for 4. He had 3 RBIs, including another home run and a run batted in.
Gorilla ball.
Yeah, hey, and it's funny with the way we've talked about the bats being different. We've scored 24 runs and 10 runs in our last 2 games. So, but I think this team is going to hit. They're going to produce runs and they're going to score. Probably need to catch it a little bit better, which I know is a concern. But they've been outside. We still haven't. We've played, but I don't think we've had a single outside practice this year. So that's something that you can get out on the turf, but catching ground balls on the turf is a little bit different than actually catching them on the field. So fingers crossed, play tomorrow. If not, they are scheduled to take on Penn State Harrisburg on Wednesday at home. That's a 3:30 game, as they will try and play their first conference game of the year at home. And then a trip to Salisbury this weekend, followed by apparently we're playing Sunday at home. As I look at the schedule, I was not made aware of that yet, so this is breaking news to me as well. We're going to play a doubleheader against Marymount at home on Sunday, which, okay, that surprises me. We're going to play at 1 o'clock.
Well, what other plans did you have?
Well, I really don't know. It was going to be a Sunday off, but apparently not. So, yeah. Anyhow, pardon my surprise. I just look at our schedule and see that we're playing that game. So, that'll be one of the many games that we have to continue to make up. We lost 6 games due to weather. So apparently, yes, we're playing Marymount on Sunday. So that should give us an opportunity to kind of get some games in at home. That would mean if we play all those games, it would be 4 the next 6 at home. Actually, it would be 5 the next 7 because we play Johns Hopkins next Tuesday. So hopefully that this schedule will kind of hold and we'll be able to play some games and get the guys in a routine and get action going. So we'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting to be almost like a pro type of schedule. It's almost every day. What's the rotation like at this point?
I don't know. I'm not sure we have a rotation right now because we haven't played any games.
Yeah.
Obviously, with going to Salisbury and then having Marymount, basically 5 conference games within the span of 5 days, that'll tax the pitching a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see who ends up pitching. There'll probably a couple spot starts, but the good news is we're rested. So I think that's a good sign. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. This week could go a long way into helping determine the path of the season the rest of the way.
That game on Saturday at St. Mary's, yeah.
Friday.
I'm sorry, you're right. Yeah, that was the first game in 9 days that they had played. You mentioned the lack of outside practices. Compare it, though, and obviously, ideally, you'd be outside. But now that we have the M&T Bank Fieldhouse, I mean, you can stretch it out. You can do long toss. How much different is it now compared to the old gym? I remember that, too.
Night and day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's completely different. The ability, we used to have one cage. It wasn't even that long. You couldn't have a pitcher throw 60 feet 6 inches and be able to hit in there against live pitching. This is much better. I mean, we have 2 full-length cages. You can have guys throwing live, though it is a little hard to pick up the ball just because you're inside and the lighting is, it's not being outside. But guys, we can throw long toss. We can do a lot of things. You can do small infield things. Obviously, it's not like being on the field. It certainly is 100% better than what it used to be, but it's still, you're inside and you're not, you're not in a field house situation where you're on turf. You're on, multi multi-purpose surface. So it's better than what it was before, but it's still not ideal.
And obviously having the soccer field right outside too, which isn't being used currently for soccer season, is turf. So you're able to get outside and long toss, and you can do some infield, outfield. Yeah. So it's not bad, but
it's not ideal. It's not ideal, but it's certainly better than what it used to be.
Yeah, I've seen some of the guys out there on frigid days getting some long toss in. I mean, you've got to be dedicated to take part at this time of year. All of these spring sports. So baseball has barely gotten started, and 4-1 is the start that they're off to. And softball guys, what's the latest there? I mean, they've been under similar hamstrung conditions here recently.
We were actually supposed to play at Elizabethtown today. That has now been moved to Thursday, so they'll play a twin bill on Thursday at Elizabethtown. If Elizabethtown's field not ready, we may be able to play here, so that could be a schedule switch the fans might want to watch out for. And then Tuesday at Gettysburg before next Thursday, the 26th, the Spartans will make their 2015 home debut. And that kicks off a series of Thursday at home against Lycoming, Saturday at home against Salisbury, Sunday at home against Wesley. It's going to be a pretty busy stretch. And then we have another stretch of April 3rd, 4th, and 8th where we play 6 games in that period of 5 days. So, hopefully the weather holds out and we can get these games in and be able to play. I know Coach Pettis is really excited and looking forward to getting their team back on the field. They had that 10-game trip, and now their last game was March 6th. So they're going to go almost 2 full weeks between playing their last 2 games, between playing games. So, everybody's rested, everybody's ready to go. I know a bunch of the girls are kind of chomping at the bit to be able to get out in the field and really get going. They're actually going to try and turn their field over today and enjoy this nice afternoon and try and get the air to it and help that expedite the drying process over there as well.
6-4, they still sit on. It's just waiting. Yeah. Just waiting.
Well, and it's amazing how quick records change. You're going to go from 6-4 and and all of a sudden you're going to look ahead and we're 12-8, and it's like, whoa, where'd that come from? And then it's going to be, we're 18-10, and you're like, whoa, wait a second, where did this go? And when it starts, it's going to go like crazy. We're going to have so much stuff to talk about. It's going to be kind of nuts. Which right now, kind of we don't have as many things to talk about. But once we really get going,
hence our first 7 minutes.
But once we get going, we're going to have a lot of good things to talk about, and certainly this. Softball and baseball are going to play a large role in that.
Now, I'm sorry, Derek.
No, go ahead.
Are geese a problem over at your fields like they are here?
Not quite.
No, not
quite. I'm not sure why they're a problem over here. Maybe
I don't know.
Maybe it's the wonderful creek we have next door. I don't know. That's a great question because there's not really any large bodies of water anywhere around here. But
Scott's only well versed in the weather and field prep stuff. He's not necessarily concerned with migration and stuff like that.
I got you. So we'll get a correspondent for that.
Yeah, we'll have to get.
Derek's going to go on Google and give us a report next week.
All right. The only body of water over at the school you can drive through when conditions permit. That's right. Yeah. So, all right. Well, good stuff, guys. Hopefully, get the baseball team on the field tomorrow if all goes well. Check out ycpspartans.com for
all the most up-to-date schedules. Exactly.
Or the app.
Or the app, or you could just be like me and not have any idea that you're playing a rescheduled game. So
good thing we do this show.
Good thing I checked the website though. It's pretty important.
Well, we will step aside here. We'll talk some lacrosse when we come back. Your College Spartans Sports Weekly continues after this here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Hi, I am Cindy Scullion, one of the proud owners of Frank Storm & Company. We have been voted one of the best for 14 years by the York Dispatch readers for your personal and business tax needs. Call one of my partners or competent staff to set up your tax appointment for your 2014 taxes. We also can handle doing payrolls, sales tax, and compilations for your businesses. Give us a call at one of our 3 convenient locations, York, Dallastown, and Hanover.
Hey athletes, does the winter weather dampen your sports training? It doesn't have to. Take your game inside at Backyard University, York's spectacular indoor sports training facility, right at home in your backyard. Located inside Fairmont Gym at 201 South Charles Street in Red Lion, Backyard University is a beautiful, state-of-the-art indoor complex for all of your sport needs. Featuring a complete baseball and softball training complex with batting cages, pitching tunnels, and a turf field for the entire team, Backyard hosts camps, clinics, and competitive youth travel teams to play in the region's top tournaments. Join York Revolution greats Jason Espedo, Daryl Harang, and Corey Thurman for one-on-one training. And take your speed and agility to a whole new level with professional trainer David Brixius from Explosive Sports Performance. Play your game year-round at Backyard University, right at home in your backyard. Visit online at backyard-university.com.
Security in life isn't something you just wish for. You build it with a strong financial plan. Start with Northwestern Mutual. Together, we'll design a disciplined and balanced approach to financial security, because reaching your goals is something we both want to work toward. To learn more, contact me, Dan McGarry, at my office on the Square in York. Look for the blue awnings. Who's helping you build your financial future? The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
The new Wyndham Garden York, formerly the Holiday Inn by the West Manchester Mall, has been fully renovated and remodeled. With 177 upgraded guest rooms, over 16,000 square feet of meeting space, 2 large ballrooms, indoor and outdoor pools, a much larger fitness center, a new business center, and free Wi-Fi throughout. The new Fender's Grill and Pub features American cuisine in a casual atmosphere using local meats, produce, wine, and craft beers. The new Wyndham Garden, 2000 Louts Road in York. Stop in or call us at 846-9500.
We're Screamin' Green. How about you? The York College Spartans are on Sports Radio 1350, WOYK.
It is the lacrosse segment of the hour as York College Spartans Sports Weekly continues. And guys, the men's team in a bit of an early season funk, and they were able to snap out of that in their last game. But give us the synopsis on the men's team, where they stand now. And I guess really, I mean, how concerning is that early in a season? Have they moved past it?
Oh, I think so. I think you talk about this team. You are incredibly experienced on the attack. You're incredibly experienced defensively, and you have a great goalie. But you're playing a lot of young kids in the middle of the field. And that hurts, especially when you're in the situation where you don't get to practice. They've only been – last week was really the first time they've had extended outside time where they're playing on a full field. They're able to work on their transition game. They're able to work on the midfield attack. And that was a big problem for a while. They went up to Gettysburg on Wednesday. Gettysburg's 5th in the country now. They lost 12-6, but really the story of the game was the Spartans had probably about a 7-minute period at the end of the first quarter into the second quarter where Gettysburg just blitzed them. And it was a situation of a good team, a really good team in Gettysburg, taking advantage of the mistakes that York made and capitalizing. And really, that was the story of that game. Actually, after halftime, we played pretty well. It was a situation where there was a huge hole, and actually, played pretty well the rest of the game as they kind of got their feet underneath them, and really carried that over to Saturday, where they went to Haverford and put up 15 goals for the 15-4 win. One of the important things with the win at Haverford, the Spartans scored 15 goals on 33 shots. That's a pretty good shooting percentage in basketball, much less lacrosse, where shooting percentages, if you're in the high 30%, you're a really good shooter. To put up that kind of offensive production on that number of shots is pretty impressive. So, I believe that Coach Childs has us going in the right direction. Those guys that are getting playing time in the midfield are getting better, continuing to improve, and I think that's a really good thing for us. And, we're still ranked 20th in the country, which, kind of is a little mind-blowing. But, the opportunity to continue to play well and kind of get on a streak and start playing well, hopefully that started on Saturday. And really probably started Wednesday afternoon, despite the fact that we lost the game, of really coming back and playing well.
Yeah. 15-4, they outshot Haverford. What was it, 33-19, I believe?
Yes.
So pretty dominant performance to get back on track, and hopefully that kind of clears things going ahead. So at Elizabethtown later on this week, that would be actually Wednesday.
Yep, Wednesday at 4 o'clock.
Then back home Saturday.
Yep, against Eastern at 1. So, yeah, the Spartans have a pretty good stretch coming up where they can get healthy a little bit in terms of putting together some good performances and, kind of raising that win total and really going out and doing what they're capable of doing. But, you look at the schedule, we're more than a third of the way done of the year, which is it's amazing. That's what happens when you start in the middle of February. Mm-hmm. But the ability to go out there and have an opportunity to compete and kind of really get back on track, I think they're going to have a good chance to do that. And we'll see what happens here moving forward.
I want to get Coach Child's thoughts on the situation as well. Scott, you had a chance to catch up with him earlier this morning.
We actually had a listener question submitted. And that got answered in this segment.
Yeah. So it's a good one, too.
It's a great question.
Yeah.
It was really, really good question.
All right. Well, here's what Coach Childs had to say earlier today.
We are joined by York College men's lacrosse coach, Brandon Childs. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Sure, my pleasure.
Let's talk a little bit about this week. A challenging game at number 8 Gettysburg on Wednesday, which you fall, and then a big win over Haverford on Saturday. In the game against Gettysburg, you had kind of a rough stretch, but it seemed like later in the game you guys started playing pretty well.
Yeah, I think in general we played better against Gettysburg. It was the first game where I think we did some uncharacteristic things on the defensive end, and they're too good to get away with those mistakes. And so we gave up a couple in the first half that we probably shouldn't have had we been playing and communicating defensively the way we were in the beginning, the first couple games of the year. But offensively, we stayed the course. I think at halftime we did a good job of addressing some of the middle of the field issues, and in the second half we picked up more ground balls and cleared it at a better, higher level, and just had the ball a little bit more in that second half.
Saturday, 15-4 over Haverford. Looked like you guys played really well. What were your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, it was a continuation of the second half of the Gettysburg game in terms of the middle of the field. That's what we really challenged our guys. I felt like athletically we could dominate the middle of the field with ground balls, face-off wins, clears, and we did a really good job of that. And it just resulted in a lot of extra possessions that we hadn't had. And when we got those possessions, we actually shot at a really high level, which is another thing we challenged our guys was to be scorers more than shooters. And we were 7 of 15 at halftime. I remember that stat. Shooting the ball pretty good.
That's really good. Does it help now that you're able to get out more regularly and be able to practice? We had that bad stretch of weather where you're kind of stuck inside and not consistently having quality practice time. Has that helped that you were out pretty much all last week?
There's no doubt. And we kind of altered what we normally do in a typical 2-game week. Spent a lot of time focusing on ourselves and less on our opponents before both of those games. And I think it allowed for us to make some needed changes and adjustments on both ends of the ball. Being out on a full field helped, with the riding and the clearing aspect of the game. And just the weather in general, I think it made practice a little bit more spring-like and lacrosse-like, therefore a little bit more enjoyable for the guys, and just a little bit better atmosphere last week at practice, even though we had come off of a rough stretch.
All right, for the first time ever on the Spartans Sports Weekly, we have a listener question. Keith Drawball sent an email in and asked, why do we switch goalies on man-down situations? And so we're going to go get the answer right from you. Why do we switch goalies in a man-down situation?
Yeah, well, it dates back to last year. In the recruiting process, we tell our guys that the hardest workers are going to play the most. And going into the year last year, we had just a really good battle for who the starting goalie was going to be. And we kind of gave way to experience and picked Caleb Abney, but it just didn't sit right with me because the other guy, our number 2 guy, James Anderson, was working so hard. And so we just kind of went uncharacteristically, I guess it's just not a typical thing to do, I guess I should say, and went with a 2 goalie system. And I don't like splitting halves because then you have the whole this goalie's hot, let's ride this game out, or this goalie's not doing so well, let's get him out early. And I'd never been a big fan of splitting halves, and so we started to think of a more creative way to be able to play multiple goalies, and the man-down goalie was born. And I felt like the exception of one game last year, it went really well for us. I think James brings us something. He's very fast out of the goal. He's got real good stick skills with either hand. He actually took 3 shots last year as a goalie. So inadvertently we discovered that he helps us clear it when we're down a man as well. But that really had nothing to do with the decision. The decision was he's a really hard worker. He watches tons of film. And so he really masters the other team's, man-up plays. And he's just he's like having a coach on the field. And when you're man down, it's not a bad idea to have an extra coach on the field.
This week at Elizabethtown on Wednesday, and then finally returning home. It feels like it's been forever since you guys have played at home this Saturday against Eastern. What does this week look like for you guys?
Yeah, I think in the beginning of the year, and we talked a lot about this before Saturday's game, I think there were a lot of expectations, and I spent a lot of time thinking about expectations, and ultimately I think that when you have all these expectations you're trying to live up to, you can only fail. And so we've kind of challenged our guys that the only expectation in this program is going to be to compete and have fun. And not like a light and, having fun kind of atmosphere, but a competitive fun atmosphere. And I think that's what Saturday was all about. And so the next 2 opponents, the next 2 games don't really matter to me or to our team right now. It's just 2 more opportunities to compete and get better. And I think having gone through a stretch where you lose 3 in a row, and I don't think anyone would have anticipated us to lose 3 in a row or expected that. It kind of gets you back to where things should be, which is like the next play of the next game. And so at this point, today's practice is about us and getting better. Tomorrow we'll start to work towards E-Town, and then we'll put our best foot forward Wednesday. And then Thursday we'll go back to working on us before Friday, starting to look at Eastern a little bit. So trying to focus a lot more on us, so we're playing our best lacrosse in May and not having had already played our best lacrosse in February.
All right, Coach, thanks for joining us, and good luck this week.
My pleasure.
All right, Scott, thanks very much. We will, anything you want to, I should give you the opportunity to follow up on any of that if you'd like.
No, I think we were actually talking in the car on the way over, and, one of the things that's a strong suit of Brandon Childs is he's not afraid to make in-season adjustments. And, part of that approach is, there has been a lot of expectations for this team, and I'm not sure that that's completely fair. Maybe I'm partially guilty. We have a lot of really good kids coming back. This team doesn't lose a lot after this year. Obviously, Tyler Hudson's one of those seniors. But this is a pretty young team. There's still this core of juniors who have another year and a half left and are really good players. So maybe the expectations were a little unfair this year, but I think how he's managing them, hey, let's just get back to basics. Let's do what we do. Let's be good at what we do. Is a great way to go about it, and I think it's going to really pay dividends down the stretch for York.
Yeah, I don't think Brendan really gets caught up in any of that hype. He's going to do what he needs to do to put the best team on the field, and I don't think anyone – I would say Hudson. There's a few exceptions, but no one's job is really safe. He's going to – even if you're a great player, he's going to make the necessary adjustments, personnel changes in order to put the best team on the field that he thinks that can compete.
Yeah, we actually had a lot of different players play, starting with the Gettysburg game, and those guys, a couple rotation changes, a couple line shifts that really seemed to work out pretty well. And he's a guy who you have to earn your keep in terms of how you perform in practice. Practice is very important. And now that they're out there and getting the opportunity to do the full field practice, it makes a world of difference. It gives him an opportunity to evaluate players a little bit differently and allows him to make some lineup switches that he feels necessary.
By the way, thanks to Keith for the listener question.
Yeah, thanks. That was a great question. In fact, Coach, when I told him about it, he's like, oh, okay, yeah, I can explain that. That's a good question. Yeah. So we appreciate that stuff. Keith, thanks for listening. That's great stuff.
Well, and for those that are not totally familiar with the lacrosse programs, great program on the women's side as well, and we will talk about that when we continue here. You're listening to York College Spartans Sports Weekly right here on Sports Radio 1350.
Get ready for winter now and save big on your heating oil or propane costs. Call today to schedule your first fill, and don't forget to ask our energy advisors about the right money-saving plan or budget to fit your lifestyle. Lock in your rate and protect your price all winter. Our price-protected customers save an average of $325 per year. Visit ShipleyEnergy.com or call 855-4SHIPLEY to schedule your next heating oil or propane delivery. Shipley Energy, energy for life.
At OSS Health, our highly trained physicians are on the field, in the training room, at home games, or away. From preseason physicals to postseason surgery, we're on the sidelines so athletes don't have to be, getting you back in the game. When it comes to sports medicine, we're the ones you've trusted for 30 years. OSS Health Sports Medicine, experience you can trust. Visit us online at osshealth.com.
At Northwestern Mutual, we take a disciplined and balanced approach to financial planning. Together, we'll help build your financial future on time-tested principles, not market trends, so you can take advantage of life's opportunities. To learn more, contact me, Dan McGarry, at my office on a square in York. Look for the blue awnings. Who's helping you build your financial future? The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
The new Wyndham Garden York, formerly the Holiday Inn by the West Manchester Mall, has been fully renovated and remodeled. With 177 upgraded guest rooms, over 16,000 square feet of meeting space, 2 large ballrooms, indoor and outdoor pools, a much larger fitness center, a new business center, and free Wi-Fi throughout. The new Fender's Grill and Pub features American cuisine in a casual atmosphere using local meats, produce, wine, and craft beers. The new Wyndham Garden, 2000 Louts Road in York. Stop in or call us at 846-9500.
Your home for the Spartans. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
It is the final countdown of this week's show. It is completely my fault, though, that we have to postpone Old Guy Radio, which has been thrashed from the lineup once again.
That means we have a lot of good things to talk about if you exclude the first 7 minutes of the show.
might
have been the biggest flaming dumpster fire of radio we've ever had on this show. So we appreciate. Hey, thank you to the fans who chose to stick around. That is, you all should get like stickers or something because that was a disaster.
Does show dedication. Well, the women's lacrosse team, guys, a tough one on Saturday at Salisbury. And this is a game now that they expect to win. Salisbury is nationally ranked, but so is York. And I don't believe they were overly thrilled coming away from a 10-7 loss, 4-2 now in the season. But it was their conference opener that they suffered the defeat in.
Salisbury is just one of those teams. Scott and I have talked about this. I think it's mental. It's a mental block. We've never beaten them, and I think they're having a year where Salisbury's having a year where they're not as dominant, I think, as they were in the past. And we're obviously very good, but I don't know. It just seems like they always have our number at the end of the day. I thought we played a pretty good game overall. Really took it to them. We outshot them 23-18, and definitely had plenty of chances to score. Salisbury just had a string of goals there at the end of the first half, and to start the second, it just kind of put the game at a reach. But I was happy to see our girls respond, and they kept fighting, and they were within 3 late in the game, but just couldn't get over that hump. And I think too, talking with Coach Mustin, Salisbury plays a physical style, and if watching the game, they were pretty rough. I mean, it was a much more physical game than what I've seen so far this year, and I think she was a little upset with some of the officiating, how they kind of give Salisbury the benefit of the doubt in some things, because they are Salisbury, they are so good. But I think they got to shake this off. This is their first conference game. It's kind of nice, I think, to get that game out of the way, because now you can just kind of go ahead and focus on the rest of the conference, it will be a tough test, but I think we should fare pretty well going through conference play. And then going back on Wednesday, we had a thrilling win over Messiah, up at Messiah. I went up to that game. A buzzer beater at the end from Jamie Verman. She tallied the game winner with 1.6 to go. That was an interesting game. It was a thrilling end, but again, it was one of those games I think we had a chance to put them away early, and we just didn't get it done. We took a 6-3 lead into halftime, and we had chances early in the second half. We ended up outshooting them 32-13. So, I mean, again, our offense is, it's there. It's just a matter of finishing. And we had chances early on in the second half, didn't convert. Got some turnovers. Messiah came down. They were really opportunistic. Only had 13 total shots. and they put up 7 goals, so they were very efficient offensively. And I think the part of the problem was we would have stretches where we would be in our offensive zone, running our offense for a minute to a minute and a half at a time, and we wouldn't get a goal out of it, and that kind of put our defense to sleep. And all of a sudden, they have to spring back into action, which is tough to do, for sure. But the last sequence was pretty interesting. It was under 2 minutes to go. We turned the ball over. Messiah took it down into their offensive zone. I'm sitting there thinking, well, here it goes. Here goes Messiah. They're gonna, the way this game was going, I was thinking they're gonna score here with less than a minute, and we're gonna walk away with nothing. But they got a good look. They ripped a shot off the crossbar. I couldn't believe it. And Meg Strauk, one of our top junior defender, came in, scooped it up, and she's got some speed. She's got probably the fastest person on the team. She took it almost coast to coast, took it down and got a shot on goal. It was saved, and we managed to get the dead ball ground ball. Ripped the shot with 23 seconds on the clock. We got to scoop up the rebound there, and kind of out of nowhere, Jamie Verman, she was kind of circling around the back of the net. She kind of plays that top position behind the net. After the shot, she kind of came out of nowhere, scooped it, and like kind of one move did like a turn jump shot over the goalie for the game winner. So it was a pretty exciting finish, and it was good to walk away with the victory because I think we were the better team that day, and we definitely outplayed them. So it was definitely good. Always good to get a win for sure. And looking at the polls now, York took a little bit of a hit. They were up to 12th. They're now down to 16th. In the polls, Salisbury goes from 16th to 14th. And Messiah got some love. I guess they figured playing us close, and they picked up a win on Saturday. They're up to 19th. So I guess that makes that win a little bit better. You can beat a team that's ranked now. So it's and also looking on the rankings, there's plenty of other teams that are still in the top 20 that we have played. So our schedule is definitely one of the toughest in the country, and it's I think we're fine. We're 4-2 at this point. Have the whole have a few more non-conference games, and have the whole conference schedule coming up. So I think we're going to be good. To get the Salisbury game out of the way, and now it's just it's time to regroup, focus, and and try to start finishing the offensive end. I think that's the most frustrating thing is we take a huge amount of shots. I think the problem is we're kind of making it too easy on the opponent's goalie. We're kind of shooting it right at them. I think what coach really wants us to focus on is trying to pick our spots better and be more accurate on the offensive end. I think it's the same thing with the men's team too. Is we take a lot of shots to get a lot of good looks, but we're kind of just throwing it at the net rather than being selective and trying to be more precise, which is something that it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time to work that out. But I think both men and women's teams are in a good position right now moving forward.
Yeah. Well, the women this week will host Dickinson on Thursday at 4.
Yep.
And then at Wesley for a conference game on Saturday at 1.
Dickinson ranked 18th currently, so it's another ranked opponent. Put them on the schedule. So
yeah,
that's the way we like it, I guess.
Well, guys, thank you very much for coming in again this week. Want to wish Kyle Walthall the best of luck at Swimming Nationals this weekend, and we should have a ton to talk about next week.
I would think so.
I would think.
As long as the weather cooperates.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
That's the great variable. Well, we'll look forward to it next Monday at 4, guys. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you then.
Thanks, Daryl.
Sounds good. Thanks, Daryl.
All right. This has been York College Spartan Sports Weekly. Again, we'll talk to you next Monday at 4 right here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Your home for York's home team. The York College Spartans play here. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK, York.